Admiral Jellicoe approves a boarding party. Jenkum Pog calls a particular maneuver a slippery dipsy doodle. And Vice Admiral Janeway gets a little good karma coming back her way. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Prodigy Season 1, Episode 19, entitled Supernova Part 1, directed by Andrew Schmidt, written by ERIN MCNAMARA, and we have a very special guest today. What a coincidence. ERIN MCNAMARA is here.
Yay! Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this was a ton of fun, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us for this episode. This may be, this is your first credited episode, correct?
Yeah, it's my first time as a TV writer, so just kind of jumped right in.
What? This is your first writing debut right here.
I know. I owe so much to the Hagemans. They're just on top of being super creative. They're so generous and they're so encouraging. And I actually was working in production and post-production since college, and but I sent them a pilot that I wrote, and they were nice enough to get back to me and tell me what they thought. And then time went by, and then they allowed me to join them as the writer's room assistant on Star Trek. So that was the first writer's room that I got to work in. And I mean, I'm sure every writer's room is different, but I still, even right now, I'm just like, is this real life? Because I get to sit down with a respected podcast and talk about something that I wrote, and it happens to be a Star Trek episode. Just kind of still blows my mind. And so the Hagemans are my forever heroes because they let me join. And then the writer's room has been full of so many talented people that have such a diverse background of different projects that they've worked on and different levels of expertise in different areas. And shout out to all the writer's room assistants out there, because it's not an easy job, but I felt really, really lucky that I got to work in such a decently, a bigger room of writers, and just with very intelligent, but very thoughtful, nice people, which usually I think people are pretty nice in the entertainment industry, but when the stakes are high and the pressure's on, sometimes it can get a little spicy. And but I feel really lucky that I got to start this chapter of my journey with such a talented group of people and got to learn from them. And so when the Hagemans decided to give me 119, it was just sheer joy and excitement and sheer terror at the same time, because it was like, oh my gosh, I get to write an episode, dream come true, and then oh my gosh, it's gonna be 119, and there's a lot going on, and I cannot wait for everyone to see 120. There's a reason why it's a two-parter. But yes, 119 is full to the brim of stuff, and I owe all of that to the previous 18 episodes and all the writers.
ERIN, let me ask you. I want to ask you,
Cirroc, real quick. I just wanted to point out before that question that maybe she is dreaming. She did ask the question because if you'll notice, she said we were a respected podcast. So maybe we're all dreaming right now. Anyway, sorry, go for it.
No, I did catch that too. But no, I wanted to ask you, because this episode was very well written and you did a fantastic job. And I guess my question is, your familiarity with the characters and storyline, all of that comes with your experience being in that writer's room and kind of getting familiar with where the arc of the story is going and where the characters are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another great reason why, if there are aspiring writers out there, don't hesitate to jump at an opportunity to be a writer's room assistant if you can, because what's funny is that you're in the room every single day because you're in there taking notes and you're just listening. Like your brain has to be on all the time. And I don't think I've taken so many notes in my life. Like it just goes and goes. But what a great way to become fluent with all the characters and the storylines. And again, it's not like I was holding all of that knowledge myself. We had a writer's room with like multiple walls of 3x5 cards and kind of tracking, character journeys and trying to see where we could squeeze more in. And, but yeah, I could not have just come in as like a freelance writer or something and followed all these storylines and all these characters just out of the blue. It was definitely time in the writer's room, just absorbing all of those conversations and all those journeys. And then getting to and having to, because that was part of my job, like read all the scripts and, double check if we're getting the names spelled correctly and all that other stuff. So definitely being a writer's room assistant helped me a lot with not just knowing like the names, but also just trying to capture the different voices, because Jankum-Pog sounds really different than Gwen and so on and so on. So yeah, it was definitely all helpful.
Mm-hmm. And for anybody that doesn't know at home, there's generally one writer's room assistant in a whole writer's room. So this person needs to be on top of everything and working and memorizing and typing and retyping. So, but a quick caveat here, though, not all writer's assistants get episodes, you guys. So clearly ERIN was doing something very right for people to have faith in her to give her this episode. And I wanted to ask you, ERIN, this is part one of part two, of a two-parter. How closely were you working with the Hagemans to make sure that these two meld together? Or was it not closely? Did they just say, you know what, we're 18 episodes in, you know what you're doing, you have fun, good luck, and then the pressure's on?
I mean, there are days where it was just like, okay, ERIN, go do your thing. And then, but there are definitely days I never felt alone. Like they were always a text message away. And definitely they were, and actually it wasn't just me and the Hagemans, because really this game gets started at the end of 118. And so the Benson sisters, Julie and Shauna Benson, were also very aware of like, okay, well, where exactly are we ending 118? Because it's a direct pickup into 119. And then where exactly are we ending 119? It's another direct pickup. So, I mean, like once the train leaves the station, it doesn't stop. And I get the sense that maybe people are sensing the fast pace of it all. But yes, the Bensons, myself, the Hagemans, I would definitely say there was a healthy dialogue and even kind of playing with moving that line, like when you're figuring out the beats of a story, kind of playing with like, well, if we end 118 here, how does that feel? Or here, or like ending 119 there, or like, should we put that scene at the top of 120? There's a little bit of moving around sometimes, I think, when writers are trying to figure out where they want those cliffhangers. But ultimately the Hagemans make that final decision, and I love what they did. So I'd say it definitely seems to track. Hopefully it continues to track for people into 120, but I think it will. I think it'll be a smooth transition.
Yeah. This episode felt like the finale, actually. I'm surprised there's another one coming. Because I was looking at it like, well, they activated the thing, it's going down, Starfleet is in distress, and
this would be a great way to say, well, sorry guys, you got to wait a year to find out what happens.
Right. So part of me thought there's another episode, like there's even more, because the diviner, you have his death, which I thought was very well done as far as artistically, and it just felt like a special moment. And yeah, I just felt like there was a lot of things that you did clever that I'd like you to kind of just talk about, because one of the things, for example, was the idea that Starfleet kept sending the SOS signal, and more ships would arrive. That I thought that
Brilliant.
was super brilliant. So just some of those ideas and topics. I just thought of just the episode played out so well. The teamwork scene where everybody was trapped down, and eventually Rock Talk kind of started the chain of events. Just really clever writing there. Is that all just you kind of piecing these things together? Where do you get to the point of like creating this bomb or this weapon that was used against Starfleet?
Yeah, I know it's kind of a terrifying type of weapon, because when you're dealing with kind of like an AI gone bad type of thing, this computer virus that, we call it the living construct. It almost has a knowing of how to like evade detection, and so it takes a while for our crew to discover it even. And then like, what is it? What does it do? And then of course, when it unleashes, I remember listening to Ben Hibben and some of the designers and everything, just talking about how to show that wave basically of going out over all the ships, and then just that eerie feeling of like, oh no, they're all turning red and like slowly moving towards each other. And since I know it's coming, it's just like, oh no, like just the stakes are getting super tense.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then they start firing on each other. I'm like, oh gosh.
I know. Which I'll confess, I don't know if this is like a dark side of me, but I was glad that we got to actually unleash the Kraken a little bit, and I don't think anyone didn't want to do that. Like, I think that was always part of the plan, is like, let's see what this weapon can do. And there's no better way to
I didn't think. I have to be honest. I didn't think that you guys would release this weapon. I thought the weapon would be disarmed, like MacGyver.
They would find a way to stop it just in time.
Absolutely. I know.
I didn't think it would ever take into effect. I never thought we would actually see what it would do. And
but thank God you guys did, because it looked stunning. It was just a stunning display.
I know. And like we could probably, I almost wish like some of the designers could come in and you guys could just listen to them talk about the ships. Like you could do a whole episode just on the ships. Yeah. Because it's, the Defiance and the Akiras and the Sovereign, like, and I just remember early on in development and writing, just going by some of the offices of like Patrick Krebs and Jason Meyer came on later, but they're just so passionate and they have multiple models of ships in their office already. So you can really tell that the people behind this love this world and like love these ships. But anyway, like, yeah, we definitely, I think, always wanted to pull the trigger a little bit and let this go from bad to worse and make it look like, what happens if our kids don't save the day type of thing. So we definitely got a taste of that in 119.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's so many themes in here.
There's so many themes. Yeah, it's hard to touch on all of them. I do want to highlight once again on the visual part when they were piloting the ship. I love the Jankum steering the ship and the way it was kind of dropping through the other ships and floating around. Yeah. I thought that visually it looked real to me. I felt like I was on the adventure with them.
Yeah. Well, and that was part of the fun too. We loved the idea of trying to show the dimensions of the Protostar compared to these other monster ships. Like, people might not realize that the Protostar is smaller and how big some of these other ships are. And so that can actually be an advantage if you use it, and yeah, the Dipsy Doodle, which I'm just waiting for someone to make like a cocktail drink named that now.
Ooh,
but
that's fun. Right. It's one that you kind of have to flip over to mix it up, like what they did in the ship.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, when I knew that, I was like, okay, this is going to be like the mother of all dog fights, basically. And I just started researching like the descriptions of dog fights and like what planes can do. And I was just trying to use that kind of verbiage and everything. But of course, again, the design team and, led by Ben Hibben, and they just knock it out of the park, like they just took it and ran with it with the barrel rolls and like the somersault and everything. It's just so much fun. So yeah, visually to see that many ships and then all of them kind of slowly turn on each other is just, your heart just sinks. And because having two starships face each other is kind of scary. Having a whole armada of them take each other down, and then the kids are just helpless watching this from the center. And then, of course, they're dealing with Essentia and Dreadnought and all that stuff. But the weapon definitely was scary in the sense that it's kind of a computer. It's intelligent, and it scrambles things. Like it's not just making the ships do one and like turning off things or something. It's literally like taking over and just turning these into like a conniving force, basically. And they're shooting at each other. The construct is also scrambling their languages to make it even harder. Luckily, we have Hollow Janeway, so she's kind of like disappears to go try to work around that. But I guess just to stay on the theme of the ships for a second, it's one of my favorite themes of this episode that I felt so lucky that I got to kind of be the one to land on this episode. Was it brings me so much joy when you see the other ships come in to help. You see the Federation ship, which is beautiful, and it's so fun to see all the different designs out there and all the different models.
It wasn't just the ships, but it was the words that you wrote, the speech that you gave for Gwen, where I felt like it was a call to arms of people for allies to step up and kind of do the right thing in this kind of distressful moment when Starfleet is the most vulnerable and it's at its weakest. And there's like a moment there where all of the Starfleet allies could step on their throat, essentially step on the Federation, and they could say, all right,
stand back and watch.
Oh yeah, or not do anything at all, right? They could either take advantage of the moment, or they could just say, hey, it's on you, you guys figure it out, it's not our problem.
Exactly.
But I thought the way that Gwen delivered that speech was very well written, Erin. I wanted to say that moved me a lot. It felt like a movie quality speech, like the kind of speech that you see, Kirk give in a moment in one of the movies. So
it's gonna make me get all choked up.
Yeah, it was great. And I also enjoyed the idea I thought it was clever that you used the language, that you brought back the language difference, the kind of Tower of Babel, nobody can talk to each other type of thing. And I enjoyed that as well, because it gave Gwen the opportunity to step up and show her leadership skills. And actually being called captain at some point in this episode, right? So
I know, I love that moment. It's when you have a linguist, you've got to have a moment where the linguist gets to shine. And Gwen is just such a cool character that I love that moment too. And I love that exchange. And I also love Klingons as characters. I think they're super interesting and super relatable sometimes. And even though it's kind of a heated exchange and you're left wondering what's going to happen, that's actually probably my favorite theme of the episode. But there's a lot.
There's so much.
But just the idea that some of us might choose to be in this Federation and some of us might choose not to be in the Federation for personal or political reasons or whatever. But in the end, when the rubber meets the road, or when the phaser meets the photon torpedo, in the end, we don't want harm to come to one another. We want to help one another, even if we disagree. And that's a theme that I want in our world. Totally. You got to see it sometimes in story just to remind you that we have that capability too. But there's a time and a place to disagree. We can totally go our separate ways. We can have a line between us where we are not on the same side. But in the end, we can also have each other's back to a degree and just look out for each other. And I would love to see that in the world more. So it's probably my favorite theme in the episode.
Hard agree.
Yeah, and I want you to take us back to the moment that I really enjoyed, which was the scene where I felt like it was Dal and Gwen, the awkward kiss moment.
Oh dear.
And actually, more so than just the awkward kiss was the follow-up where Gwen reveals to Dal that, they have rules against augments in the Federation, and that he wouldn't be able to live out his dream of joining Starfleet. That was a big moment. And I also like Dal's reaction, which is, I may not be able to get in, but I'm going to make sure that you guys do. I mean, that was like A+.
Mm-hmm. I know. I love that moment too. Not to sound like a fangirl, but yeah, it's like, I love that moment too. I think we all agreed that we wanted to have a moment where we got to see where Dal has grown. And it's sometimes when we grow or we see characters
grow. Like, what? Sorry, I misinterpreted the moment. I thought this was the kiss moment. He was looking into her eyes, and you can see the sparkle, and he was just like, "This is my chance."
I know.
Not for the last time, bro. Sorry, it's gonna keep happening.
I know.
Yeah.
He's probably lucky that Gwen didn't slap him. And it never hurts to ask before you kiss a girl. But
yeah.
So yeah, I think Dal learned that lesson. But I know it's just like there's obviously a bond between them, and we'll see where it goes. Like I'll just leave it at that, as we'll see where it goes. But it was. Some people might not like it, but I think it's kind of like endearingly sweet that like Dal just like in his innocent silliness was just kind of like, oh, I thought you were going to tell me you had feelings. Like, I thought that's what you wanted me to know if you don't come back.
Yeah.
No, I had bad news for you, pal. Not good.
I know. It's like, sorry. But
and that was a double whammy for me. I was like, dude, this guy just got his heart kind of stepped on in that awkward kiss moment. And then on top of that, by the way, your dream of joining Starfleet, not going to happen.
Also got stepped on.
Yeah. Double whammy in the same moment. I was like, oh, I felt for him.
I know. Hence, he just falls on his butt because he like can't take it. And I know, but that's also, again, being at the end of the arc, it's really cool to see these moments and be able to be a part of these moments where you get to see the character grow. But like when I think back about Dal in Lost and Found in 1 and 2, he's so self-focused and he's so like me first. And I don't care if like I screw up your plans or if I leave you behind or anything. And then of course we meet Nandi in 107 and we kind of understand more about where he came from a little bit and who he grew up with. But yeah, how like we all want friends now like Dal where they would be willing to put their dreams aside and the rejection that Dal would feel, and it would be so fun to like do spinoffs of all of these scenes because it would just be fun to like sink into it a little bit more because he's being rejected for something that he can't control and it's not a reflection about who he is as a person. So unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that kind of rejection, but he, in that moment, still chooses to put his friends first. And wow.
And I was thinking, what's more Starfleet than that?
Totally.
Like that is the characteristic. That's the quality that you're looking for when you're trying to recruit somebody. Somebody who's selfless and is, thinking of the greater good. I thought we're going to tremendous growth.
Sorry, let's take a super quick break. So Bonnie Gordon, our buddy, can jump on us and jump into this fun with us, I should say.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But this is great stuff, and I still want to ask you about these all these ships and the actress that played Captain Tridge. By the way, we'll be right back, everybody, on the Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
Bonnie Gordon has joined us. Here she is.
Hi! It's like magic. I've appeared. Hello. Hi, Erin.
We made a lot of magic jokes too earlier. So
oh, dag nabbit. I missed the magic jokes.
And ERIN MCNAMARA is also here, the writer of this episode. So very quickly, since I teased it, Captain Tridge, the Klingon captain, was played by Deborah Wilson. Her voice sounded familiar, had to check it out, look it up. Deborah Wilson of Mad TV and a million other things. But Cirroc, you'll remember her as the lady that played the biggest non-appearance mention ever in Deep Space Nine. The episode was called The Sound of Her Voice. I think it was season 6, where they were just talking to the lady on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's really
And it
cool.
turned out she died like 20 years before.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
So real quick, Erin, the question I wanted to ask you was, it's got to be amazing. You're writing words down and you're years ago, basically, and you're seeing things come to life. Was there something in this episode above all where you were just like blown away by how well it came to life, or maybe you weren't sure about it?
Oh gosh. I mean, I guess there's just so many. It's this episode, because it's part of a finale. It's just like bam, 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 right after another, where you're trying to like hit all of these end points. And I have nothing but faith in the design team and the production team. Like, we just give them some black and white pages and they just blossom and knock it out of the park every time. And I guess the carnage, like the ships, the volume, the sheer volume of not only Federation ships, but then bringing in non-Federation ships. And it's just like, it's so many emotions. But yeah, I was blown away. Like, there was definitely a part of me where I was just kind of like, I almost want to send this and just like hide from the design team or just apologize to them. And in fact, I think when I saw Jason Meyer at like the little crew premiere of 119 and 120, I was just like, because he's the supervising director of like CG and everything, I was just like, I'm sorry. Like, I know that was just so many, just waves and waves of ships and everything, but they love it. Like, they're passionate about Star Trek as well. And they loved researching and getting into all of the ships and, finding ways to showcase each one as much as possible. And I think just seeing it come to life just really blew me away, because that's pretty epic.
Also, speaking of casting,
it was ship porn.
Yeah.
It was it was a ship show. It was a ship show.
Bonnie, you played the Bernari lady.
I did. I played the Bernari ensign. It was so cool. Also, getting the script in advance, Erin, I was so, like, that little nod to the Bernari, because they're never seen again after that one episode, and they go through the wormhole to Federation space. Yes. So it absolutely makes sense that one of the younger children would grow up with it, knowing of Starfleet, and join Starfleet. So I thought that was so cool. And the fact that I got to voice the first return of a Bernari since that episode of Voyager. Although I will say this, watching the episode, I for a second went, is that me? Or is that Ella Purnell? Because our voices sound, our natural.
I didn't know that was you.
I'm
just now learning.
I didn't either.
Yeah. But it was so fun to do. I can tell people now I've done a scene with Kate Mulgrew. I don't count the computer saying, access denied to her.
We count it.
I mean, I secretly count it. But it was so great. Erin, honestly, this episode is, when I say, I tweeted that it was a nail biter, and I have fake nails on right now for a show, and I probably have like plastic poisoning from just last night, just like gnawing at my fingers. It's so good. And you were right about the production team, about the animation, like all of those ships coming in and I was not expecting something of that multitude of like epicness.
Yeah, it never felt like, we had to make cuts for budget or anything. Like, I don't know how they did it, but they knocked it out of the park. And I just want to say, Bonnie, like, I am so glad that you played the Bernari. You 1,000% deserved it. And I'm so glad that you liked that callback. I know that's probably a surprise. Counterpoint is one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Really?
And again, I feel like the Bernari ensign could have her own spin-off, like her own episode.
I agree. Season 3, let's make it happen. No, I was hoping that. I'm like, I want her to have a name, so like, there's a chance she might be able to come back. Oh yeah, the unnamed young Bernari female.
Who knows if that's who she was, but there's a chance.
Who knows?
That's her.
Who knows?
So she's unnamed in that too. So.
That was a great callback because it was like, it shows you the length of Admiral Janeway's career and the amount of lives that she touched during the course. And like stuff she doesn't even remember is coming back to save her in some type of way, right?
Yeah, and like here's this ensign that has admired her for so long, who's probably too nervous to talk to her because she's like her idol. And exactly like at the end of Counterpoint, in my headcanon, it's that when they go through the wormhole takes them at least close to the Alpha Quadrant, or not actually the Alpha Quadrant. And like, if I met someone like Janeway when I was little, I'd be like, I'm joining Starfleet Academy pronto.
Right? Well, Starfleet saved their lives, like hid them. They were going to be executed. I believe they just get completely executed once they're found. So I just think it was also so full circle that she's the one who releases Janeway from the brig, like basically risks her own career.
Karma.
I know.
It reminds me, sorry, real quick. It reminds me of a meme that I'd seen a long time ago, and I just pulled it up. This is perfect for it. Some stranger somewhere remembers you because you were kind to them.
I love that. Can you send that to me, Ryan?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Because that's such a perfect
photo.
way to remember things. And this episode, I thought, encapsulated that. In that scene, it just reminded me of that. And I was like, yep, A+, good karma there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, you never know. If only we would make sure we did that for one another. Like if you remember a kindness that somebody showed you, like to reach out to them and let them know. Because like what a wonderful reminder of like what you do matters, and the little things you do, or the not so little things you do, like save a bunch of refugees from the Devore people. Yeah. But yeah, I loved that idea and her coming kind of back into the mix. So I don't know, maybe.
I loved how you wrote it too. How if you knew me, you knew that I would be telling the truth. And then she's like, I do know you. You lied to this. So you think it's twisted. You think like she's basically accusing Jane with, no, you lie about this. You did that. But then it's actually, no, you lied. And in doing so, I probably should let you out.
No, it was the court martial.
Really I think that was actually one of the original lines in there that was cut too. That she said something about how she was having to risk her own.
No,
or like that it was worth the risk. Yeah, I remember recording something about a court martial or.
Yeah, I know it was in there, but I totally understand. Like you gotta
for time. I mean, we need more pew pews.
I know
that was my question, Erin. So not everybody gets their first show be such a great show like Star Trek and write such a good episode as you did in this one. And so that's kind of part of my question. Were there a lot of rewrites for you when you were doing this? Were there edits and things that you had to take out of it that maybe you wish were still in it? Like what was that process like for you as going through it the first time?
Yeah, totally. I mean, what I wish is that it could have been an hour long, like
we all do.
So do we.
We all wish this. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are so many powerful scenes, and like the Diviner and Gwen, just so many things that
killed me. Literally.
Yeah, you just wish, and like the Bernari Ensign and Janeway alone, like there's so many things that it's like, oh, I wish I had 10 pages for this and like 5 pages for that instead of
you roller coastered perfectly because you gave us such like action scenes, and then you gave us such like heartfelt moments, and then like the stakes were so high, with Dreadnought fighting the other kids. Like it was just nonstop beats of like epic moment here, emotional moment here, action here. You're like, you couldn't even take a breath the whole episode. And then when it was over, I went, wait, that was 22 minutes. I felt like I felt like 10 minutes had passed. It was just so packed in.
I wish I had a picture, maybe I do, but, and I don't know if I'm allowed to share it, but like, I wish I had a picture of the beats on the board. Because ironically, the writer's room wrapped pretty soon after we broke this episode, obviously, because it's a finale. I obviously stayed on because I was still wearing that hat of like the writer's room assistant and the script coordinator, but then I was also writing this episode. So it's kind of double duty. But then the pandemic hit. So then it was like, okay, dream come true. I'm going to write, but also the world's falling apart, but that's okay. But the process, so it was kind of a transition of, yes, I was writing at home, which is kind of normal. People would usually take a few days out of the room to go write at home anyway. But yeah, it's not like I could come back into the room after and like work on it in person with people, because the room was wrapped and we weren't allowed in the office. And so, but again, I'd never went to script without a hefty amount of scene and outline and beats and everything. And that's from the whole Prodigy room. So that's what I mean, that it's like, you know, I'm standing on the shoulders of everyone else in that room. Like I could not have just come up with this. But yeah, the writing process usually includes at least 2 rounds of notes. And this episode is kind of a puzzle, because like you're trying to hit all of these beats and all of these moments and honor all of these storylines that you're trying to wrap up.
And set somebody else up for the next episode, right? You're setting the next one up too.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, there was definitely back and forth. And it's funny, so far in my journey, I worked mostly on live action stuff, and the start and finish time is kind of more condensed. But in animation, you know, the art takes a lot of time. And so that means you can be editing the script for a while too, if you want. So, I mean, the little edits kind of continue on through not through voice recordings, but until voice recordings. And I'm sure Bonnie can attest to that, of getting just like, you know, edits and rewrites and stuff like that. But yeah, there was definitely some back and forth with the Hagmans of just, you know, making sure I was on the right path and kind of going in the right direction that they wanted, what scenes were working, what weren't. Because sometimes we all just need to see something on the page to figure out, oh, that's not working. It worked in our heads and it worked on the board, but it doesn't work on the page or whatever. And then of course, like the script was shared with all of the writers who were all able to kind of give feedback and notes and everything. So that a writer's room is just such a gift when you're talking about trying to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And so but that's part of the love of writing, I think. Like, I mean, maybe when I was younger, I probably would have been too scared or something to like collaborate, because it's like, no, don't criticize what I'm doing, you know, or something. Yeah. And it's not always easy. Like sometimes you get really attached to an idea or a scene, and so you don't want to touch it. You're just like, that's my child. Like, don't touch it.
It's my baby.
Well, you know what Stephen King says, you got to kill your babies.
Exactly.
And he does all the time. I mean, it's kind of he needs therapy. But no, speaking of killing your children, that sounded horrible. But I want to say kudos to you and the writer's room, because that scene with the diviner and Gwen where he dies, like, oh my gosh, throughout the entire series, you guys did such an amazing job of giving him, I think, one of the best character arcs. As a villain, because you really see in the end how much he did care about Gwen. Because in the beginning, you know, he was willing to give her up. He was blinded by ambition and the rage and the ship and the rage and vengeance. And then as he progresses, and also I think the memory wipe also helped in that with the Medusan, it gave him such a redemption. And you know, in the end, you kind of get that it all comes back to, you know, the love that he has for his daughter, which we never really felt in the beginning, and now we get to see so clearly. And it also gives Gwen some closure as well, to see that he does truly care for her. But like, it's just such y'all did such a good job throughout the entire series, giving him such a delicate, like borderline, you know, full-on evil villain, but also some kind of empathy. And then towards the end there, you know, he really surprises everyone with with his actions.
Yeah.
Played beautifully by John Noble, by the way. I just want to say a shout out to John Noble. Big fan of his, and I'm very sad that he's going to go Maybe not, but it sure looks like when they turn into particle dust, there's no turning back. Anyway, what were you saying, Aaron?
Well, I just like Thanos just snapped him out of existence.
Here's hoping.
I know, that final farewell. But no, I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought up that moment, because Bonnie, before you got on earlier, we were just talking about themes that we love of this episode. And actually the theme that you bring up with the diviner kind of goes hand in hand for me in my head with another theme that I love of this episode, of just when the non-Federation, people decided to, or I should say aliens, decided to show up, and how we might be on different sides of the Federation line, but in the end, we don't wish each other harm. And kind of just that compassion, just that basic level of compassion. But what you're bringing up too, Bonnie, it's like, again, my wannabe philosophical mind kind of starts spinning a little bit, where I'm just like, man, the diviner was so overcome with anger and revenge and rage, and he was so driven by it. And like, as we see in Essentia, she's still driven, completely consumed by rage and revenge. But what is it that transforms the diviner even just a little bit? And it's his love. It's love. It's not threat. It's not power. It's not, because he's willing to go up against an armada of Starfleet ships if he needs to. It's not intimidation. It's love. And I know that it's so easy to glorify certain kind of strength, and we think of love as like, mushy gushy or whatever. But it's like, no, it's one of the most powerful things we can experience. And when we have a genuine love, that sometimes is what inspires us to open our mind a little bit and change a little bit. And I see that in the diviner. He sadly got taken out, but it was that love of his daughter that allowed him to be like, I don't have to choose the revenge as my most driving force. I'm going to choose the love of my daughter instead. And I just think that makes him kind of interesting.
I think him having Gwen and feeling the love for her in the end made him see that there could be a different way to resolve this, seeing everyone work together and seeing how she, how she sees the world. He finally saw a different way, and also being with Starfleet and seeing this kindness of Starfleet, of them trying to help him. I think he started to realize there could be another way.
Yeah.
I also thought that there was a moment there when Gwen almost upstaged Admiral Janeway, kind of. It was a small moment where Janeway's like, all right, there's nothing left to do, abandon ships, let's just
Gwen's
forget
like,
about
not
it
so fast.
And Gwen's like, well, what about other ships and stuff, non-Federation ships? And to me, it was like, wow, this kid who has zero experience is coming up with an idea in a critical moment that even the great Admiral Janeway is like, didn't think of.
Out of the mouths of babes.
I have a feeling, I feel like Gwen had an advantage knowing that she would be able to speak to the other, with the translator out. Janeway immediately was like, clever. Oh, it was incredibly clever. And I love
problem solving skills. Yeah.
I love that Gwen knows all these languages, and when the translator goes out, her skills gets utilized again, because it was such a, we see that in the very beginning in the pilot, and then it never really gets, acknowledged again until the end. And so it's nice that
we've got
in the very beginning
seasons to acknowledge it.
Well, but you know what I mean? I remember how in, it's not about communication, is about translation, because she didn't think she was going to have any use on the ship as someone who can translate, and now it just shows that she does. What you were saying earlier about driving love instead of like fighting and revenge, there's a really great Keanu Reeves quote that he did in an interview, because someone said, oh, I'm a lover, not a fighter, and he said, whoa, whoa, I know kung fu. No, he says, you have to be both, because if you truly are a lover, you have to be willing to fight for what you love, or else what is there worth living for? I probably messed up that quote. But of course, Keanu Reeves is like a, fortune cookie pillow quote that you want to put on a billboard. Yeah, I was like, anything he says is kind of like from the, the words of God. So it reminded me of that, the being a lover and a fighter, but no, you have to be both because you have to fight for the ones you love. And I think that's what Prodigy has so much of is, yes, they're fighting, but they're fighting with love in their intent.
Totally. Yeah. Well, on that note,
I did have one final little thing, and that was the moment when Dal is bragging that he can't wait to join Starfleet, and Gwen stops Rock Talk from like basically spilling the beans, and I thought that was it's a small moment, but it just was like, hey, let's consider this guy's feelings. Now's not the time. Yeah. Even though honesty is the best way to go, let's not burst his bubble just yet. And then Gwen later on brought that back up and said, I want you to hear this from me and not from somewhere else. And she owned that responsibility. I just thought that was very mature of them. And I like to watch them grow and develop and seeing how they're kind of maturing in situations. Sorry, Erin, I love that scene as well.
No, I love it. I love it.
Kudos to Zero with their flight skills. I mean, my goodness. Doing flips. I was like, Zero, look at you. Evasive maneuvers my ass. Let's go. Like he was all over, or they were all over the place. Well, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying their piloting skills from the beginning when they were just kind of like pressing random buttons, hoping to go forward. As
I know. It's really cool just to see the whole arc of them on the ship too, on the bridge, where it's just like they go from not knowing the pew 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 button to being a well-oiled machine by the end. And I know that was a moment that the whole room wanted to see too. So yeah, Dal and Gwen are quite a duo, and we're gonna see more of them for sure.
I'm waiting for the romance cover fan art of Dal and Gwen.
No.
I know.
Well, tell you what, everybody, we've got to run right now while everybody pictures the romance cover. We do want to give a very special thanks to a few people named Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Timothy Baum, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Moeller, Darlena Marie, John Mann, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton-Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, Radek Orszewski out in Southwest Poland, of course, Henry Unger, Mai live from Tokyo, Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Everybody stick around. We've got the free-for-all in a moment with a few of our favorite people. But Erin, this has been so cool. And we wish we could talk to you for 3 hours because this is amazing. We really appreciate you taking the time and telling us
This is part one of the finale. So this is just part one of the podcast with Erin.
I know. I thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to talk to you all, and just your insight into the show is so wonderful to hear. And so, thank you for letting me be a part of it. And 120 is going to pack a punch as well. Like if you think 119 is crazy, just hold on to your cat boots because
19 episodes in, we believe you by now.
Oh no, wait, no, this show is excellent, and I'm glad that you're a part of it. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come from you, Erin, because your work has been really phenomenal.
Well,
we'd love to have you back.
Much. Yeah, we'll have to see about season 2.
Ooh, teaser. Love
Spoilers.
it. Well, thanks very much, everybody. Stick around for the free-for-all, and we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
Bonnie Gordon, of course, is here as well. And ERIN MCNAMARA has decided to stick around with us because she is so cool and friendly and intelligent.
And you can't get rid of me. It's totally fine.
You've been trying to get rid of me since episode 1 of this podcast. I've just stayed in the I've stayed in the Zoom. I don't know how technology works.
Malissa Longo is also joining us wearing a Radical 7th Rule shirt.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Nice.
Yay.
She is loving this show, by the way.
I love it.
Goldu Scott Jensen is here as well. Signals.
Hello.
Yeah, I do my
smoke signals.
We've also got Carrie Schwent. Is that, it looks like Irish plaid or Scottish, some kilts behind you?
Yeah, I love my plaid, and it's Christmas colored plaid.
Everyone loves a good plaid.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Love it.
Well, let's first of all just hop over to Malissa here, because every time a new Prodigy episode drops, she starts blowing up my phone and blowing up Twitter and blowing up Facebook saying, "Oh my God, I love Prodigy. I love this episode. This is so good." Can you tell us why, Malissa?
Yeah, I have been very pleasantly surprised by Prodigy from the get-go. And every episode just gets better and better. And it's because the storytelling is so rich, and the character development and the relationships between the characters are so honest and fleshed out, and I care about everyone on the show, and it's so good. It's a treat, not just for the eyes, because it's stunning, but this episode pulled at the heartstrings more than one time. So even when the diviner met his maker, I was like, oh my gosh, and how wonderful that he's a multi-dimensional character. He's not just a baddie. There's complexity to him, and I love that.
Redemption. He got redemption.
Yeah.
And the way his body, like when he died and his body kind of floated up,
it was
I was like, dude, that
some
is
of it looked like, I played it back 5 times. It looked like some of it was soaking up into Gwen's facial lines.
She is a part of him.
Yeah, they're neuroflex.
I thought it was so beautiful. Yeah, the animation was really well done. It captured the delicacy of the moment, and the emotions were kind of up in the air when he was literally floating up in the air. And I thought, wow, this is I never thought I'd feel so sad for a guy who started off the way he did in the first episode.
Right. Yeah. There were some tears. I was like, no, oh my gosh, no.
Because in the beginning we just despised him, and then you want him to survive and be able to have that relationship with Gwen that both she and he so deserves.
And I brought this point up before. I was like, he reminded me of Gul Dukat in some ways, because there were moments when you watched Gul Dukat and you would say, well, he's not that bad. He loves his daughter. He loves Zial.
That was every day for me.
Yeah.
But then you do have to think back on all the horrible things he's done. Like, he's still a horrible person, like enslaving children, leaving them to die,
killing all those Bajorans.
You forget
all of that stuff when he has like certain moments with
you're
people
like,
that
he saved the at. That's the writer's trick. Oh, he saved the cat. That's
but I think the difference is that there was growth there and learning, and he didn't stay bad.
That's true.
He evolved, and we should allow bad people to evolve to a better place, right?
I think all bad people should just get like a nice Medusan wipe and
just start them over.
Yeah, like, hey, you know what? Let's we're gonna give you a restart button. We're gonna turn you off and back on again. See if that helps.
Bonnie on customer service right there. Did you try unplugging them and plugging them back in?
Did you try turning yourself off and turning yourself back on again? Did you look into the Medusan? I don't know why my customer service person is British accent, but they do.
Yeah, well, Carrie's got the shirt for it. She's got the Mind the Gap shirt.
No, it's so wonderful to hear. I don't know if everyone feels this way, but I'm actually surprised at how many people are paying attention to the diviner and really appreciate that story arc, because he was so bad. He went from letting his daughter be eaten by vines in 105 to
abandoning her
now willing to risk his lifelong mission, or, you know, adult lifelong mission for his daughter. And I've genuinely been a little surprised by how strongly people seem to be responding to that, but I'm grateful. And I agree. Like, it's really nice to let bad people maybe evolve a little bit, but the bummer is, like, just when you start liking him, he's gone.
Well, and I think that kind of lends itself to a story that we've all seen play out some way or another in our own either lives or people that we know's life.
We all have daddy issues, is what he's trying to tell you. Because I know
it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like daddy issues. It's like, yeah, he wasn't there for us at this point in our life, you know, and he abandoned us. But now he's an older man and he's kind of, you know, made amends for something, or he's trying to reach out. And there's like those kinds of complex relationships that we've had, that people have with their own father. And I felt like, wow, that's kind of really encaptured very well in this animated show, that I feel the relationship and the chemistry there is real. Like, the emotions are real. Those things are things that we all can relate to, as far as I kind of the love-hate relationship. Like, oh, I hate him, but, you know, he is my dad, and you know, and he loves me. And so it's like, it's kind of that.
It kind of helped me in the beginning. Like, of course, the beginning of an arc, you can't judge a character just by the beginning of their arc. You have to, like, travel with them and see where they go. But at the beginning, there was a little bit of conflict with Gwen, because it's like, well, she's so smart and she's so cool, but, like, she's kind of on the dad team. She's, like, kind of on the diviner team. Like, what's going on? And but yeah, maybe because of all of our daddy issues, like, just being able to have a little compassion for just that innate desire to make your dad proud, you know, like, you just want to make your parents proud. And that maybe kind of blinded her.
It's getting too real.
Yeah.
It's getting too real.
Well, now, speaking of too real, we've got Gul Dukat Jensen here. We were just talking about Gul Dukat. And what do you think of this episode, Scott? And also, when we mentioned Gwen possibly getting eaten by vines, did you think if they were going to do it in 6 seconds or less?
No, Ryan, I didn't actually.
Oh, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Watching this episode, man, this was a blast of energy and made me extremely jealous that I didn't have TV shows like this when I was a kid. But also incredibly happy, not just because kids get this story so early in life to help them, you know, maybe try to communicate and be better friends with each other, but also that they don't have to sit through Cobra, like, trying to emit radio waves to make everybody think vegetables are gross. You know, that was like the writing we had. So I loved it. I loved that I was like 100% certain that this signal was going to get stopped, and, you know, it was going to get wrapped up. And then I'm like, oh my God, no, it's happening. Oh, no, wait, no. And then this person gets hit, and that one's nailed to the wall. And I'm like genuinely worried about every single one of them. And I was losing my mind for a second there. And my favorite part, probably the entire episode, was Gwen's speech, when she was talking to everybody and explaining why communication being so important. And of course, the Klingons pull up like the worst, like the least compassionate probably group he could have found in that.
Yeah.
And I'm doing math, and I'm like, oh, just remind them about the Dominion War. Just remind them about. Oh wait, no, they wouldn't know about that. Oh. And speaking of which, I had like the wrongest sense of pride when I was watching the Defiant just blasting everything. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be happy about this, but the Defiant is wrecking everything. I wonder who's the captain. Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. Oh.
With the familiar sound effects, I found myself getting a little misty-eyed when I heard that pulse cannon again, that pulse phaser.
Yeah, I kept checking all
when
the
it showed up,
shots.
I was like,
it's okay. The Defiant's still all right. As long as the Defiant's still all right. You know, I saw that Akira class, and I was like, is that the Titan? Is that the Titan, that Akira class that came in? Or was it the second Akira class that slid in? Is that the Titan? What's Riker doing? You know, I got all that. It was great at putting itself in the universe too, that whole scene. And, you know, being really worried because, you know, when it's animated, sometimes I feel like some people might separate it from the stuff that you've seen live action coming up, and to have that callback to that Voyager episode again to connect everything. Yeah, so jealous and very proud of these kids that they get to have this stuff. Very great. It's absolutely great.
Yay.
Yeah.
Speaking of the ships, just real quick, I wanted to point out that there was a Klingon bird of prey, a civilian Cirroc class. That was a Vulcan ship, if I remember correctly. A Gorn trading vessel, an old Patarian bulk freighter. Our good buddy Don Crandall points out that Cassidy Yates either flew a freighter that was Patarian, or it was just shipping a bunch of Patarian stuff. So that was Patarian, I should say. So that was an interesting thing. I don't know if there's a connection there, but he certainly found one. And we got to see a really cool, gigantic Ferengi ship. They called it the Decora class. I was like, that's a Marauder. And they're like, no, it's Decora class.
Ferengi showed up. I was like, wow. They were probably like, how many bars of Latinium are we going to get for helping Starfleet later? They're just
isn't Rom the Nagus at this point?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rom would have
to get out there.
Yeah, Rom's like, hey guys, just saying we should probably go and help. It's just so good. This is one of the ships.
This is like the biggest threat, I think. One of the biggest threats that Starfleet has ever faced in all of Star Trek canon. It would be up there with Dominion Wars, this is like the extermination of the Federation. Essentially, this is possibly the biggest threat that they've faced.
It puts a whole new meaning to you're your own worst enemy.
Exactly.
It's like, oh no, Starfleet, don't do it.
It's like, ironically, they build these amazing, powerful ships, and it's like, that's actually what's going to be their undoing potentially.
Yeah.
So it's and again, I'm actually surprised at how many people are echoing that sentiment that you've all shared of just being like, oh no, the kids are going to stop it. We're not going to actually see this. And it's like, not according to the Hagmans in the writer's room, man.
Yeah.
Like looking at the not destruction, but like the damage that they're taking, there are casualties. Just because it's not said out loud, there's definitely casualties happening on those ships. Like it's
good point.
In my headcanon, they're all evacuating.
They're all fine. Yeah, they're all
They all have great EMHs.
Yeah,
hull breaches are being, instantaneously covered. Like everything's fine.
Totally. Everything's going to be okay, kids.
The Brunari ensign is like totally on it. She's like, hey guys, I don't have a name, but I am on this, and I am
right.
And by the way, you guys, all of you guys, not just you, Erin, but the whole show is really good at raising the stakes at every episode. It feels like every time I get to this, there's one more. It's like it's even more on the line. It's even more confusing. It's even harder of a test. And it's just constantly raising the stakes on this show, which is just like, I'm like, these guys are killing it. This is one of the best first seasons of any show. So it's not just an animated show. This is pretty much any show.
You're going to feel even more strongly about that 6 months into the Next Generation. Just saying that's
it's true. It's true. You're gonna look back on rewatching season 1 of Next Gen and go, wow, compare apples to oranges. Yeah.
Well, you know what? To their credit and defense, they were pioneering and breaking ground, and there was not a lot of reference for them to draw off of, so I'm going to give them that.
And I was just kidding. It's a 10-way tie for first.
80s.
Yeah,
and it was the 80s.
But you know who else is in first place? Everybody, it's Carrie Schwent. She's minding the gap. She is here, and we've got to know how much you loved this episode of Star Trek Prodigy, presuming that you watched it.
Oh yeah, I watched it a couple hours ago, and even managed to knock out a quick haiku. So I've got construct trap is sprung. Diviner tries to help Gwen. Conditions get worse.
Typical Tuesday.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. I know exactly.
It honestly felt like an hour show and not just a half an hour.
Because so much happened in such a short amount of time. Bam, bam, bam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Essentia having her quality Bond, general villain monologuing moments, which were just fantastic.
And her just shooting herself out of the hull of the ship, like she's like peace, and like
that was awesome. We did not
awesome.
What a super villain move.
Escape pod.
I'm sorry, I was like, move over, Red Angel. That was awesome.
It's pretty cool. Like she's like, yeah, bye guys. I'm just gonna like put a giant hole in your ship, destroy you all. Bye.
I know. I kind of want a dreadnought for myself, but like a nice dreadnought who can just be a table when I need it and like a protective barrier when I need it.
Heater
sometimes with a nice like island accent. You know what you want me to do about that?
yeah.
That kind of different dread.
Totally different dreadnought.
Have one with an island accent. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, it's going on the list, Cirroc.
All right,
season 3.
Season 3 dreadnought.
Island dreadnought. Ride the wave.
And so many good beats in it. The Diviner having his Darth Vader redemption. I'm gonna save my kid, but die in their arms in the process. Rock Tuck having her Admiral Akbar moment. It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
A lot of Star Wars references we're getting today.
That's
okay. You can like both. We don't have to choose one, but if you did, we know which one we're choosing.
I love it.
And Ninja Murph being all smooth, and then
Ninja Murph
smack my bottom a couple of times.
Oh yeah, when he
like
smacked
Darth
his
Maul.
bottom.
Yeah. Wait, what's up? You want some of this? Come on.
Did I not fall off the couch laughing?
Oh,
so
actually,
hard?
no. I actually was reminded of Yoda, and when Yoda was kicking ass in like episode 3 of Star Wars, actually, and he's like doing all these flips.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how clever was that?
I have so many questions about the Gorn ship. Like, of all the other species that show up, the Gorn show up too. I want to know more.
You know what? I have a feeling deep down that one Gorn was secretly in love with Captain Kirk, just like every other alien race he encountered in the original series. And throughout the years, it's been passed down generation to generation, like generational trauma, but generational love.
Does Kirk have an illegitimate Gorn kid? Is that what you're spreading here on this?
Look, I'm not saying it's canon.
Another captain with lizard babies, huh?
But I'm saying,
maybe Janeway's lizard's babies talk to him.
Yeah.
Another captain with
lizard babies straight.
Are there more captains with lizard babies? Is this a thing?
Yep.
Another
season 3, like
salamander lizard babies. It's fine. It's fine. Tomato. Salamander lizard.
Yeah. So apparently that storyline has been written already. So no writing credit for me on that.
No, selfishly, I would love to see Gorn more in action, come back somehow. But we'll see. At first step ship, maybe next step we'll see a Gorn someday. I don't know.
Erin, if you were to have your way and you had more Gorn in, say, season 2 or season 3, would they be slow motion original series Gorn, or would they be hyper speed Strange New Worlds Gorn?
Ooh, I mean, with the pace of this show and how much is crammed into a half an hour, they got to be fast paced. Like we can't dilly dally. So probably have to go the fast route, but
Murph speed.
Maybe maybe it's like it changes with age. Maybe they start out really fast, but as they age, they get slower. Like who knows?
Yeah,
exactly. Or we could reverse it. It could be like babies are really slow, but as they get older, they get more dangerous or something. I don't know. That's where.
Erin, I have a question that I don't know if you can answer it because it may be like a designer thing, but the design for the living construct, the design for the weapon, I don't know what it reminds me of when I look at it. Every time I see it, I think of something. And Scott, do you know what it reminds you of when you look at it? Like, I'm trying to think, where did they get the idea for this design? Like, what does it look like to me?
Or carries something from Star Wars, maybe?
I don't know. Yeah. First image that pops into my head is like a drop of water in a lake and like the ripples.
That's cool.
I just think it looks gorgeous.
Spiky ripples.
I think of one of those boring tunnel machines that they bore out tunnels with, that has all those like things on the front of it that's like just meant to go. I don't know. I think of something like that. I don't know what.
The cleaner in Labyrinth.
There you go.
By the only one making a labyrinth reference. Yeah.
I'd love to know.
I'll mute myself.
Where they like
or the programmable matter from the new Discovery season, where all the stuff comes up on their keyboards and stuff. In Discovery.
Oh, the programmable matter.
Okay. Mixed with Stargate. The Stargate kind of swirls out.
I was just really happy with how it looked, because to me, a lot of things remind me of other stuff, but this didn't. This just like looked like something new that I've never seen before, and it was gorgeous. Like the concept was great, written well, totally makes sense, and it's intimidating and it's scary and it's awe-inspiring. And then the way it was executed with the artistry of it was just gorgeous. And when it was just coursing through the ships and making them glow red, just made it look even more amazing. And I wish I was sitting in on those meetings where people were just like, okay, what's the coolest possible thing we could do? How can we make this thing just look cool? Let's make it all glow red.
Kind of opens like the Dalek eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely knew that we wanted it to have an element. Oh, I love that. We definitely knew we wanted it to have an element of like nanotechnology type of thing, so that it could change what it's expressing. It could change shape. It could morph and show different objects and things like that. But yeah, I mean, again, that's hats off to the design team taking a concept of, we want it to be a living construct. How do we make it menacing? How do we make it adjustable so that like we can change what form it's taking and what it's signaling to? So making it visual and powerful, but adapting. And I didn't like write in there, like it has hard edges, all the design team of just really taking it and playing around with different concepts and then really honing in on what the Hagemans felt like was a good expression of that. And I love it. I love it too. I think it's terrifying. And then the red matching the red of the ships and everything is like, whoa, okay.
And I also like what you gave us a lot of insight when you kind of referred to it as some type of AI type of thing too. That also gives like a little reference to the brain behind it. But the visual behind it is really like, it's like this Rubik's Cube, it's a futuristic Rubik's Cube or something. It's really cool. I like looking at it and then how it moves and stuff. It is an original thing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on.
You know, if there's anybody that hasn't watched the episode yet and is watching this, they're like, I have got to see what they are talking about.
What the hell is this living construct? this weapon.
I know. It would actually, like, if it was a nice nanotechnology AI computer, it could be an awesome little fixture in your house. It'd be cool to have something that changes shapes like that and glows and everything. But yeah, they made it look really creepy.
I don't want to like burst anyone's porch. Yeah, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but that's the new design for the new Alexa coming out in 2023 is a giant red glowing interchangeable thing. And it's like, hello, playing Joel on Spotify. Yeah. It's get ready.
That's a stupid question.
This is how we get Skynet, people. This is how we get Skynet.
Oh, okay. No. But you know, you guys are bringing up a good point, or you guys are bringing up points that kind of remind me of like, that's the freedom that you have in animation. Like, you know, in live action, they do a beautiful job in the live action shows, bringing in that VFX and everything, but it's just so expensive at the same time. And obviously, like, you know, everything is expensive, but that's kind of the joy of animation, is that you get to maybe bend reality even a little bit farther because you're not limited to physical physics.
Physical physics.
Well,
I love it.
On all those notes, everybody, I think we've got to run here, but we are super grateful and thankful that Erin, you came and joined us for the entirety of this review, as well as the fact that you wrote this episode, which we absolutely
Rockstar
love.
level episode, Erin, like knocked it out of the freaking park. It's so far out of the park isn't even in the neighborhood anymore.
That's an old saying, everybody.
It's a very old saying.
Everyone sees Bonnie and goes, what an old-fashioned gal she is.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so fun talking to all of you. And yeah, it's easy to talk about all this stuff for hours. And again, I still can't believe it's my reality where I've had the pleasure of working with the Hagmans and the entire talented writers room. And it's really because of all of the awesome setups that they created for the previous 18 episodes that this episode is just so packed full of exciting things. And yeah, the design team from top to bottom in production, I'm blown away too. Like I'm a fan too, like even though I know what's coming and stuff. So, and Bonnie, of course, thank you for your voice of an angel with everything.
Oh, thank you. So I was just so excited when they called me in and they were like, oh, we have a part that we'd like you to read. And I was like,
absolutely.
Oh, I was so excited. Absolutely. I was like, I get to act? I'm not a computer?
Yes.
I was very excited. That was during COVID too. I recorded this right here in my bedroom.
Wow.
This is it. This is where I recorded it.
We're getting a studio tour too right now.
Yeah, this is it. Very, very sad.
All right.
With my cat.
Well, thanks very much, Malissa, Scott, and Carrie for joining in and providing your insights and laughing at our jokes, except for the one about Vine. By the way, Vine, everybody at home, was just it's an old social media thing that was like 6-second videos. Otherwise, they would have laughed very hard.
Oh, I get it now.
It lasted about 6 seconds on social media, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody.
When you have to explain a joke like that 30 minutes later, it's really not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good
Just
thing.
for the record.
I know.
Find me on Hive, everybody.
I want to wake up in cold sweats thinking about that 7-second
video
pause
on
that
Napster,
you guys made.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be uploading this to Napster.
We're gonna upload this to ShareBear. Have a great, great.
You're on my top.
We're all aging ourselves now. We're all.
Check your America Online accounts for any updates.
So, fun fact, AOL, I still have AOL. Thank you very much. And everyone makes fun of me whenever I log in and it goes, "You've got mail," and everyone just laughs. And I go, "You won't be laughing when everything else fails and AOL's still holding on."
We probably still will be laughing.
Oh,
but anyway, thanks everybody. We will see you all next time. Can't wait for next week for episode 20 of this incredible, epic, and
season
amazing
finale.
20 episode season.
The only downside is that now we got to wait for season 2 after.
Yeah, but you know what? This show is in great hands with the Hageman brothers. They are doing Star Trek a good service by delivering high quality product. Totally. Emmy nominated. I mean, this stuff is it's deserving of the level of accolades that it's getting. It is awesome.
And more people need to be watching it, by the way. Everybody out there that isn't watching it, my goodness, you're missing out.
Yeah. Grown-ups have a lot to learn from this show.
Hurry up and go back and watch this first season so you can enjoy the second season with us. I'm tuning in right away for season 2, episode 1. You got me on for a fan.
Yeah. Paramount Plus. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Isn't that what this?
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you all. Thank you again.
Thank you, Erin.
Great.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing more. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
More episodes.
And
Cirroc demands it.
Yeah.
That's it. If he demands it, it's going to be done. It's already written.
Done.
Make it so.
We'll see you all soon, everybody. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time on The Seventh Rule.